cósmico que nos sostiene, escondido en el ladito del corazón que mantiene. Amar un nidito cósmico que nos sostiene, vibrando, creando en el ladito del corazón que mantiene. Textimuyo en el ladito del corazón que mantiene, metiendo la ritmo del universo sinceraré. Ay, es mi madre, universo puro, amo sinceraré. Ay, wasquita shamuriri, ay, wasquita shamuriri, ay, wasquita shamuriri. Pintara medicina, pintara medicina. Ay, wasquita shamuriri, ay, wasquita shamuriri, ay, wasquita shamuriri. Pura medicina, pintara medicina. Sinchia buaira ikarururu kanchakui. Itiwan sinchia buaira ikarururu kanchakui. Girando aira ikarururu kanchakui. Sinchia buaira ikarururu kanchakui. Ayos kukurandera curando chakruna suno pinta senchi amaru. Curando chakruna suno pinta senchi amaru. Sanandala all'istante a mia he curandero. Ami waska chakro panga a mia he curandero. Ami waska chakro panga a mia he curandero. Alabandala mi señor, alabandala mi señor, alabandala mi señor. Hoy aparece en la flor, hoy aparece en la flor. Alabandala mi señor, alabandala mi señor, alabandala mi señor. Uno hoy aparece en la flor, hoy aparece en la flor.
If you have substantial experience of life, when I say substantial, for most of us one is not enough. When we're reminded that there has been a substantial experience of life, going through the same game over and over and over again, then you will not long for immortality. You will want to see what's beyond life. Oh, is this because there's something wrong with life? Nothing wrong with it. Just that it's limited. But there is something here which does not like the limited. There is something here which does not like boundaries. There is something here which will not settle for anything less than the boundless.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the platform. How you all doing tonight? definitely hope everyone had a great day. Again, we know life can be crazy, right? So who knows what went on in everyone's day. Uh, Again, to a new topic, right? Uh, New topic that we're gonna touch on. Before I do touch on the topic, what's good, y'all boys? Hiyoko, cuz, how y'all boy doing?
Yo, Koiki, what's going on, man? I'm good, chilling, you already know, relaxing out in the truck.
Oh, you outside with it? Say
Yeah.
less. Say less. So, uh, let me see. Uh, seen a video this morning. It's been going around. It's about basically. Let's talk about it. So, people usually, and it's usually on both sides. People tend to try to disassociate themselves with other cultural people, because they want to make themselves more indigenous in the light or in the eyes of the Europeans, right? When a lot of these people make posts and make these videos and things, is usually in opposition of what they say that they were usually taught. So when you talk about the Amasi War, when you talk about the Gullah and Geechee people having admixture, it splits the sides because you have those who were raised as Gullah or Geechee and feel or believe that they are Africans. Then you have those that were raised as Gullah or Geechee and feel or believe that they're indigenous Americans. But those of us who was raised properly understand that there was a time before both of these people had come together and mixed. So when we speak about the ancient world, what those of us with ancient blood don't do is limit the story of those that are considered present day Africans, right? We don't say, well, no, they didn't come over here, when we know for a fact that people were traveling back and forth and trade, right? Doing business with each other on all of these land masses before the Europeans came out the cave and started to create their story. So before, right, or after that, then you have the handful that they did pick up in Africa and brought and or left them over here. This is a story that us with indigenous mothers are not willing to deny, because we understand that when war happened, men were lost, so other men were being brought in basically to feed the forces, right? Now, with this being said, one place that you usually see this is in Carolina, and this is also where the division is too. But the reason I really know that it's like that is, again, there's miseducation within the family. See, everyone is looking for the European to educate them on the topic, when in reality, this shit should come from the fam. So, what are some things that we can talk about or that happen and or exist that shows the unification between these different people? Now, the people that I pointed out are the Mandi and the Wale and the Yamasi. And the reason is because Mendinga or Mendingo men were used as warriors in the Yamasi War. Now, some indigenous Americans will tell you, no, they were not African. But trust me, they were not African, they were Mandi. How do we know? There were specific cultural differences, not only in language and spirituality, but also in dress and naming ceremonies. So you will find boys with the name of Kufi, and some will say, no, there's an indigenous word that's Kufi, but they're not the same. They don't mean the same, nor that they come at the same time period. So what it sounded like we're not playing the sound alike game. So then some will say, well, no, this man wasn't African. He was from Europe, but he was dark skinned. He was still a Negro. And in him still being Negro, he still had Mandi blood, because one has to remember the Mandi also were in Europe. These are Arabs. These are dark skinned Arabs. So if you listen to the Mandi story or the Mandi migration story, they explain that they even come from the eastern part of that land today. So in the Yamasi War, you had Yamasi and African alliances, or particularly Mandi alliances. Now, in these alliances, what usually happened was Mandi men were used to translate English, being that they dealt with English more, right? So, being that they dealt with the English more, they would be the translators. Now, there were abuses that the Yamasi suffered, but also that the Mandi were suffering that caused them to come together as comrades. And again, on one side, the Africans say, no, 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 we're all African. Or some Gullahs say, no, no, we're all African. Some Gullahs say, no, 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 we're all Native American. But this is where the tie starts to come in, is because while they're fighting, right, the Yamasi chiefs were actually marrying their sisters and marrying their daughters to men that were not indigenous Americans. Now, someone would say, well, if both of them were dark skinned, how did they know which was which? That's the dagger. The Europeans didn't know. The indigenous people and the Africans knew because what? Again, their language, their spiritual systems, and even their ceremonies were different. So now you begin to see Yamasi that were speaking Spanish praying to Oshun, or actually they were practicing Yoruba or Ifa, excuse me. So that was a spiritual system that that some Yamasi actually started practicing. Now, anything I say here can be verified by the Yamasi Seminole. So if you feel like you want to try to cause confusion between the different groups, please don't do that. It's not going to work. Now, if someone was mixed, thought to be mixed, and actually had admixture, they were classified as Negro. What this did was started to separate the indigenous person from those with admixture. Because now those who may not have had admixture or may have had admixture with a European started to do those dirty that had dark skin. So those that had dark skin were who? Those that became a part of or recreated the Yama Confederacy. So it became the Yamasi. So you have the Yama, the Wale, the Shawnee, the Yuchi, all these different groups that created this confederacy, recreated this confederacy. And in that, all of them started becoming or called Negroes, not because of their dark skin, which they already had, but because the simple fact they start taking in other people that were considered Negroes who were not genetically them. So eventually, once these people made it to Florida, there was a form of solidarity. Now, in this solidarity, some things that also get denied, that I have to address is this. People speak on Fort Mose or Fort Mose, but they never explain that it was the Wale that gave specific lands to those Mandi people so they could create their own nation within the Wale Union, which was also a part of or the majority of the Yamasi Confederacy. So if you're calling yourself Wale and you say, well, I'm Wale, but there were no Africans, then we know you're lying because there was a specific treaty. There's an actual treaty between the Wale Tribal Council and those Mandi people who unified within that council, and they were given their own land to where they can govern themselves. So the important thing about this is there's a story that is being told that has to be brought together. There will never be true liberation if certain Gullah people or Geechee people scream African, 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 living in America. And will be no liberation for those Gullah or Geechee people who are screaming indigenous, 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 when again there's a unification or a tie between these people. Even if your people didn't mix in with them, there was a time where there was unification. So I'll stop there. Does anybody want to touch on that before I do continue into the science?
Hiyoko Konins, what's going on, nephews?
Hiyoko, what's good?
Cool and cool. And hey, I just wanted to say, cuz I'm that ad mister you talking about.
So talk to me. I know you cutting, but I need you talking that shit. I need you to build so you can explain what is what while people be trying to deny that there are certain people on this phone now that have that admixture.
You pretty much explained it with that treaty.
Oh, say less.
You explained it with that treaty. And
Say
it's
less.
documents through certain artifacts and stuff like that that show that Africans was over here way before colonization. It's like a repeat bill for us.
Basically, it's just those who got that deeper reach can mislead more, right, than actually say,
Right.
okay, it's cool to have admixture. It's okay if your grandmother's an indigenous American and your grandfather's an African. That doesn't make you less of an American.
Facts.
But then those who don't like blood quantum and those who speak against DNA tests will tell you, or if you got admixture, then you're not really an Indian. Wait, what the fuck? I thought you was just against blood quantum when the Cherokee and the Muskogee tried to.
Bro, they
Oh,
saying
my
they want
family,
to find the $5 Indian list more Indian than what you
and,
is.
and that that's basically what I feel like Negroes be saying. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, they more Indian because it's like, damn, hold on, bro. You're against blood quantum. But you're also against people who say, oh, these people were admixed. Because there's nobody that can claim to be Wale and say, well, I don't have admixture. The question is not question, that means that you're inbred. Because Wale wasn't one people. People never understand that Wale wasn't one people. It was a unification of different people.
And then
So
another
like,
thing is,
talk to me. Go ahead.
and another thing is, they keep on forgetting that you had admixtures before the transatlantic slave trade. They don't know about that.
I couldn't hear you say it again.
I said, and some of them don't even much know that you actually had admixtures that was before the so-called Atlantic slave trade.
Right. And that's what we was touching on. It's like everybody talking about, oh, this Atlantic slave trade shit. That's the 1600s. What about any time before that people were dealing with each other and mixing with each other? And then even for the psycho niggas that say, well, America is Egypt, or we taught the Egyptians this. You mean to tell me them men went over there and they fuck nothing? You mean to tell me men, because men are the ones who do the maritime, they're the ones who do the travel. You send the men off the land and let them go do what they do. And you mean to tell me ain't nobody mix in?
They don't know that part, nephew.
So what I want to read,
Common sense ain't so common to people. No.
let me I want to go into the second part of this, right? And the second part of this is the science. Let's talk anthropology. Let's talk genetics. Now, a lot of people like to talk this I'm indigenous shit, but you always notice what is the one thing that this shit have in common? Pictures. That's it. Not facts. Not this is my actual family. Like people really be posting pictures of indigenous folks, and that don't be their family. So let's talk genetics. So the primary native mitochondrial DNA haplogroup designations are A, B, C, D, and X. Now, these are respectively discussed and related to those in the Caribbean area. The maternal presence of haplogroup A is found in the collective population in the southeastern United States. Now, it's also found in South America, and these people happen to share a haplogroup with the Gullah. Now, in them sharing this consistent haplogroup, there has to be, or it's actually showing signs that over time, the Gullah population had an ongoing relationship between natives and African groups, which established potential relationships between those populations and the others in the Caribs. Now, when they analyzed this DNA, they used 6 different samples, and these samples came entirely from women. And in this case, it was not possible to test the male specific gene flow. Listen to what's being taught to you.
I don't want
Quotes.
to interrupt.
Wait, what? No, no, please stop. It quotes. Please mute, 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 mute. Please don't cut me. Please. With respect to the Native American influence, there is evidence of female Native American contribution in these Southeast African American populations. In the Gullah, we observed 2 individuals with haplogroup B, and in the Low Country, all the Native American groups A, B, C, and D were present all through the Low Country. With respect, here we go again, and this is E.J. Para. This is an actual anthropologist. With respect to Native American influence, there is evidence of female Native American contribution in these Southeast African American populations. Now, if any of you have taken a DNA test in the last year, what you have found out is that there's a new category. And what is that new category? The Southeastern African American. But why? See, that's a sacred category that no one is talking about. This is all of those who has mothers and grandmothers that are attached to Native American or quote unquote Native American lineages. And they only tested women. So that means that these women's matrilineal DNA or haplogroup is Native American. Then these women are what? What are their children? What are their daughters' children and their daughters' children and their daughters' children? But
You are with your mother is.
even in these women, they still find slight traces of what is considered African DNA. But why? Is because this DNA is regulated to the land of Africa. When these people tell you 80% of those you consider African today came outside of that particular land. So who are you really? That's how I'm gonna end this one. Y'all could open y'all mics. I don't know who was trying to cut me. My bad. You could go ahead and say what you need to say. Speak your piece. Let's talk about it.
Peace, peace, peace. Yeah, with that category, you actually absolutely right. And dealing with tribal law, you are what your mother is. And you
You
also
cut out.
give
You cut out. I'm gonna need you to say that again.
dealing with the tribal laws. If your mother is indigenous over here and your father is indigenous from Africa, you are what your mother is dealing with her clan.
Facts. Facts. Although every time you say you are what your mother is, for some reason it was going out. But we heard it. We got you. Crane, go ahead. Take off car. What you were gonna say?
I'm gonna say, why did these people know to only test women and not the men?
Who did they talk to? Because both of y'all, and this is two big medicine men, just literally laid it on the table. One said, yeah, that category is right. And in that category, that deal with women. And Cuz asked the question, why did they only deal with women when they was taking the test? All of that revolved back to what? The bloodline that's ran through or held by the woman.
Facts.
They knew that. That's why they start raping into the bloodline and having children, and then coming to get the children when they were of age and taking them and teaching them their way and using that child to do business on behalf of the mother's family, when in reality the child was technically no longer his part of his mother's family, because shit, he don't do ceremony no more. He don't speak the language. So now he's a European, or now he's even a Negro who mixed into the bloodline and got some business done on behalf of Europeans or other Negroes that
Sound like a lot of them early Moors, huh?
Who started Blood Quantum? And what year was the Blood Quantum presented?
whatever. We're not doing that with you. I got booted. I had to tap back in. My bad. All right, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
All right, we good. We back. Yeah, I got booted. I don't know why people decide to call me at 7 when I say I'm going live. Why don't just
All
join
right.
live? But I
All
don't
right.
know.
It was said that the concept of the blood quadrant was first used in the colonial Virginia in the early 18th century, but it was not widely used by the federal government until the Indian the Indian Reorganization Act in 1934.
So, and that's what my brain be at. Like when people get blood quantum, or when they speak on like, oh, like paperwork. Well, I don't have the paperwork that say I'm indigenous. It's like, bro, how? How don't you have that when you literally are breathing, living, and speaking? You're in the flesh, literally,
Right,
literally.
right. And then it
Like,
goes on. And then it goes on to say in the colonial Virginia, in the early 18th century, Virginia used blood quantum to limit the rights of people who were more than 50% Native American. The Bureau of Indian Affairs, which actually was the War Department, it says starting in 1884, the Bureau of Indian Affairs used the census and rolls to assign blood quantum amount to Native people. Then dealing with the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, they say this act marked the beginning of the federal government widespread using the blood quantum. The blood quantum is a fraction of blood that is derived from the original enrollees of the tribe, of a tribe. It is calculated by dividing the individual parents and combining degrees of Indian blood in half. For example, if one parent is one fourth the Indian blood and the other is a half, their children will have three-eighths of blood quantum. Blood quantum is used by many American Indian tribes to define membership in the group. About 70% of the federal recognized Native nations that share geographic with the United States use the blood quantum as a metric of citizenship.
so again, before Europeans, before invasion, there was no blood quantum. There was no uh Dawes rules. There was no Kearns and Clifton rules. There was none of this shit. So if you have your family and you can have this documented. Why not have it documented and then do what you need to do? Well, I say, well, I don't have it documented, so there's nothing that I can do. No, there's a lot that you can do. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. Because if you're gonna stick to, well, I'm against blood quantum, and then when somebody say, well, I'm admixed, I have American lineage, what you would consider African lineage, some East Asian in me, some people from South America, lineage that's over there in Polynesia. All of these strands that extend, all of these make up this being that you see today. But a Negro who is against blood quantum would then tell you that, oh no, you're not indigenous. It's fucking dumb. It's retarded. But then they'll say, well, dark skin doesn't make you indigenous, and the only indigenous people they post are dark skinned indigenous people. This is insane. So
But you
with
know
the
what?
Yamasi, go ahead, pardon me.
But you know what get me though, nephew? If it take 23 chromosomes to come from your mama and 23 chromosomes to come from your daddy to give you 46, how the fuck they gonna say dealing with blood quantum? Were you half of your mama and half of your daddy? I mean,
And or
I'm
and
just saying.
or why argue against those who have admixture when that does nothing but strengthen your argument as being an indigenous American?
Right.
Because the Yamasi themselves are already uh in constitutional or congressional records, excuse me, as being considered Africans or pre-Columbian Africans. And the base core of the Yamasi say, well, shit, how they gonna say that? We've been over here for over 20,000 years. But they say some of y'all left Africa on boats. Some people did, and they joined this shit. They became a part of the Confederacy. Some of them mixed in with women who had children who were part of the. You get, and this is so long ago, but this strengthens your story. Negroes won't say that, but they're willing to quote Augustus Leplongeon. This is insane with me. While the Mandi and the Wali, or the Mandi and the Yamasi, or the Kizi and the Edo, and all of these different groups and different and American and the American groups, the Wali, the Yamasi, the Tamukwa, the Shawnee, all of these different groups began to incorporate these people. Again, not because of skin color, they were already dark skinned, but because they had a similar struggle. Now, Pan Africans and Pan Indigenous, I want to call them Pan Indigenous, the internet Indians who are teaching the BS rhetoric, have they ever actually studied what was going on at that time period for real and not to argue with white people? It'll all make sense to them.
And also, let me add in on the blood quantum issues, because the Osage out here, they are said to have less than, I think they said less than 13 people that are full blood Osage now. So with when it comes to blood quantum, they begin to, while they deny admixture, they also deny themselves that that right to be called indigenous if the tribe so do call, you know, say, hey, we still gonna require a certain degree before you can be considered a citizen of the tribe or whatever. So it kind of like defeats the purpose when they make such requirements and deny the admixture.
And then the blood quantum killed the family. Because once you get to a certain generation, and it's kind of like this girl, she Geechee, she said, oh, my mom is 1% and I'm 0%. And it's like, bro, what the fuck? They basically just killed the Indian in you on paper.
You're right.
and you okay with it. And you know your mother is indigenous, and you're a woman, so you're indigenous too. But when Queen
One,
Quet say, my grandma used to make baskets and my grandma used to do this and do that, and we wondering how come she knew how to do that, it's because she was an Indian. So the other people, how does she know how to do this and do that? Because Queen Quet grandmothers, her mother was Indian. So she's also, excuse me, an indigenous person. They're originally from Santa Helena Islands, where my grandma Mary is from. So
Facts.
they're originally from these islands, but they mixed in, and she'll say, my grandma's husband was an African, and this is how you get this. But then you have some gullah saying, nah, we all African, and some gullah saying, nah, we all indigenous. When the actual people are telling you that at a certain point there was admixture.
I can answer that question that Kitty Fire just. I mean that
So you could take off, Cole.
Kitty Fire just said. I
And
heard the
peace to the
Cherokee.
chat again too for everybody who have joined. Peace. How y'all doing today? All right, cuz, go ahead.
Kitty Fire said, I heard the Cherokee stop their blood quantum, but I think they still do based on what I hear in their conversations. Um, okay, so I frequent the Cherokee Nation just because I'm out here in the land and everything like that. So, and because I'm trying to figure out how to get our land back. So, when they did stop blood quantums, if you are Cherokee on have ancestral Cherokee on any road, then enroll. Now, as far as when she said, I think they still do. When we went down to try to retrieve out to see about our land, they have restricted and unrestricted. If you are a Cherokee freedman, they do not do blood quantum on anybody on the road as a Cherokee freedman. Your family may have been granted land, but that land is under their law unrestricted. So, in order for my family to even, we're Cherokee freedmen. So, in order for us to even try to go and get our land back, we can't even go through the tribe. Restricted land is for people that have a blood quantum of whatever, blah, blah, blah degree, and their land is deemed restricted. So that's the only time, I guess, as of right now, that's the only time that I know that they deal with the blood quantum in the Cherokee tribe, the Creek. They do require, uh, well, they changed the law, but to open up their roles a little bit more. But as far as they still require a by blood Creek by blood to be enrolled into the Creek and Skokie Creek Nation. Caddo, Seminoles here as well, and many other tribes. I think the Cherokee are the only one of the only tribes that don't require for.
Paul, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, nephew.
So can you give me a couple few words on y'all perspective on how things went during the war with different Africans that y'all saw as allies?
Oh boy, we had many. We had many. Um, we had the Mandinka, we had the Mandi, we had the Fulani, we had the Babora. Oh boy, we had many. A matter of fact, I actually did a post with the names of all those that was there that was of the African tribes that was from the west coast of Africa. You know, you had the Kizis, um, You had the let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up. Just waiting for this link to pull up on the laptop. Okay. Go to my photos.
All right, I'm still here.
Yeah. I'm going to my photos where I can actually pull them up. I got a lot of photos, but I gotta look for this specific photo. Yeah, there was many. I didn't know I had all these pictures. Because by them being intermarried with us, they became known as Escaluse, you know.
Right.
But here we go. To pull it up.
Month, you want to
Okay,
answer that question? Oh, we could wait. Go ahead, Aunt.
yeah, we had the dealing with the Mandy, you had the Babora, you had the Delinki, you had the Delula, you had the Malenki, you also had the Mandy, you had the Mandinka, you had the Shonak E, you had the Susu, you had the Fulani, you had the Sungai, or Senegalese. You actually had some Moors. You had the Ashanti. You had the Temi. You had the Libo or the Libai. You had the Fila. You also had the Kiro. You also had the Loco. You also had the Kizzy. Chorobo. You had that. So yeah, you had a lot that was from West Africa that actually joined in and it became known as the Escaluse.
Yeah, I can answer that question. Um, if you got somebody that's Cherokee Freedman, you can go and roll. Some of my ancestors were owned by the second chief of the tribe, Jesse Bushy Head. His son, Dennis Wolf Bushy Head, became principal chief of Oklahoma Band of Cherokees in 1860 something. And he wrote into Cherokee law that they would accept and give Cherokee freedmen full rights under Cherokee. So anybody that's Cherokee freedmen have always been able to go in and roll. Just gotta have the proof. Now, if y'all want benefits and stuff like that, they do that. But don't be looking for no money.
Another question. No, the Mandy and Mindy are different people. The Mandy are your Mandinga. Your Mindy are those or a group that's like you said in Sierra Leone. Sound the same, but slightly different. Slightly different. Let's see. Any other questions before we hop off? We got 15 minutes. We got 15 minutes. So, any questions dealing with this particular topic or add mixtures or anything like that? And please don't forget, you may ask a question that you may already have the answer to, right? But someone around may need it. So please do not be afraid to answer any questions or ask
I
any
got
questions.
I got a question.
Kony,
If Pa can
Kony.
answer this one, yeah, for Pa.
This is what I wanted to say. It's funny how we actually touching on this because you have a lot of people that speaks about roots, talking about how it was plagiarized, but they're not looking at the story in an analytical mindset because the reason why, because um Kunta Kinte wife was Cherokee and he was a Mandy and nobody didn't catch that.
They show she showed
She
Facts.
was Cherokee and he was Mandy. Well, Mandinka, because he said he was a Mandinka. He said, I am a
he said I'm
Mandinka.
Mandinka, and she say, well, we
Right,
don't do that. We Cherokee. Chicken George was Cherokee too. Yeah.
right, right, right. Right, but they didn't catch that. But that's for those who actually know. But you got people in them that, oh, the story wasn't real. But yet they used two real people dealing with a Mandinka and a Cherokee woman. So that right there showed you that they had people of African descent and Indian descent on the plantation side by side.
Right.
Yeah. Now, what the question you got for me, Connie?
Oh yeah, I got a question for you. Hold on, I'm about to answer Kitty Fire question. Kitty Fire, you so do they move like a tribe? They move with the tribe. As long as you got the information and you enroll or whatever, you can attend the ceremonies and all of that stuff. You can even go to the Eastern Band of Cherokee ceremonies as well. They do all that stuff out there. I would say they don't turn you down. That's why. Just get your family together. Y'all can show up, know who y'all are. Um, there's ways to figure out your surnames within the tribe and stuff like that. A lot of other stuff. But ah, I got a question
Go ahead.
for those people on here that may look up their ancestry and they find African in their ancestry. And what I mean by finding African in their ancestry, I'm talking about looking at slave codes that that got they slave owner's name with like it got the slave owner's name, how many slaves that they got, no mark, no name, no first name, no last name. It just got their age, their sex, and uh they race. How would one find out outside of the oral traditions who said people are?
Okay. Well, um, from my investigation and research, that they have ledgers and they actually had names of those that were sold, because remember, they had to name their chattel property, and they also had to have the names and the ages and everything that's on there, you know. And then even when they passed away, because remember, they had to do an inventory. So with inventory, you got to have names of things. You see, as they saw the people as things at that time. So they actually have names, you know, whether if it was the plantation owner name or the act of sale of a person that was transferred to another plantation, but there's always a name. And then um, also you can look up baptismal records, because they basically baptized these slaves, and that's how they got a Christian surname as well.
Mm, okay, baptism records. Okay.
So they're gonna
Yeah, I have
really,
missed
they're
that
really
one
gonna have to do
because I
some
found
research and do.
a couple of people. That's
Yeah.
I've seen slave work records, and they don't have no names. They just got ages and sex and race. I just like, I'm like, dang, how do one figure that out? It'd be like 20 names on the one slave owner. Damn. But I get what you mean. They do gotta have
Well,
some record of a name somewhere if they got
well,
they.
you know what's so funny about it? Um, the Spanish and the French down here in Louisiana, they had names. Now, how it was in the Carolinas, that's a whole nother jurisdiction under the British. Some of them probably didn't have that, So
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, I get what you
yeah, that might be something to really, really dig into and everything. But usually they have a name though. Usually, usually they have a name dealing with the British and the Dutch in them and everything. But I know the Spanish and the French and them, they had names, because you have to remember down here in Louisiana, they their form of slavery was totally different from the British and the Dutch. The British and the Dutch and them was more brutal than the French and the Spanish.
mean. Okay,
Yeah, because down here in Louisiana and Mississippi and everything, they would actually let their slaves marry. Just like is in South Carolina, they let their slaves marry, certain owners, So yeah. So that's something they're gonna have to do, is do they really do diligence and look up now. That person, they have the name and the age. That master probably didn't have a name for him, but a previous plantation probably had. So they're gonna have to do a lot of investigation and research
okay, that helped out a lot.
for sure.
So yeah, that looked like the last of the questions. Well, I
Say
do
we
want to.
got 5 minutes, man. Yeah, I got
Yeah, I got
5 minutes.
5 minutes, so I'll hold off for the five. My phone always down almost 6%. So uh, let's see. Any more questions? Any questions? Questions?
Yeah,
But this.
I'll,
Go
I'll,
ahead.
I'll go ahead, Pa.
Oh no, that was me. I was gonna say this video was very short. I just wanted to clear some shit up. Here we go. One of y'all can, let's see. Y'all can answer that, and then I'll come in. Let me tap this real quick. Any one of y'all want to take that?
Um, and I told this sister something about that. There are actually records that do go back to the Caribs, um, that are not only just on Ancestry, but you can find records on Family Search. I think it's FamilySearch.org or FamilySearch.com, one of the two. Um, that can go deeper into the Caribs, and some records that go into Mexico records, depending on how far back the records go.
And you know who else you probably want to try to look at records, and most people don't know about it, is the Mormons and Latter Day Saints. They have a lot of records that's tied in dealing with the United States government and so forth and so on. So you probably want to look at them too, because they have a lot of records besides myancestry.com, because they have like the Mormon family tree, and they will happily assist you to look for the information that you're looking for.
What I would say is take that paper, definitely make a copy and hold it dear. Because what you do have on paper can make up for what you missing orally, right? So there are things that the family don't know. But with that paper, that means a lot. What you can do with that is use that as a guide to say, okay, well, this is where he was from. Let me study that culture and those people, and let me start to figure out how this works. If all I have is a name in the town, then I will have to go there, right, and look in their records, or look in, say if it's the Spanish, right, or whoever is holding that record. Then you can try to get family records, because they don't only have that. Trust me, they will also have the records that's tied to that person that you're looking for. So then it says he has oral stories of his ancestors working and living in Honduras, Cuba, and Panama. Okay, truth. True. So, anybody want to say anything or close us out? All right. So everybody that tuned in and will tune in the future, thank
Oh,
you all
no, that
for
was a
listening.
question. So,
There you go, cuz. My bad.
Airwalk, Airwalk son, yeah, you could
I
tap
say
in
that
with me.
again.
Yeah, I was talking about the question. That's actually a question. Yeah, you could tap in with me. I
Oh
can.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, definitely. I really ain't, cause like, yeah, hit me. I mean, but yeah. So everybody
Okay,
that
yeah.
tapped in,
Family
thank
search
y'all
is
for
hard to.
tapping
Yeah,
in.
it's hard to
I will
navigate family search. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Carl.
I was just gonna say, it's hard to navigate family search, but if you already have the record, then you can use that record or that whatever you know orally to to down family search, because that's where those records. That's how you gotta be able to narrow stuff down on family search. So I would take information, like how I use family search is I take information that I already know, and then I write it down, and then I plug it in, and then I make sure that I can get a more accurate document on what I'm looking for. But I have seen records on there that deal with uh, South America, some of the Caribs, even Barbados. Some of those are just dealing with migration records, but or immigration records. But they're there.
That's interesting. I did a build about some indigenous people that were shipped out of Charleston to Jamaica in the 1700s. But everybody, definitely thank y'all for tuning in. Please tune in tomorrow, same time. I think I should push it back to 8 o'clock. That'll give everyone on the dark side of us an extra hour to catch up. Please share this video with at least one person. And once it stops, do come back to the video and just watch it 4 or 5 seconds. Again, for some reason, they take all my views once I end the live. But much love. Peace.